Well, good afternoon. It's Friday at about 2:18, 2:16 in the afternoon. I know most of you are still working right now, possibly, or maybe you've taken off for the day, which is good, which is cool. But anyway, I today is the second in a series of 14 uh, live videos that I'm doing to introduce to you 14 major processes, business processes that you can utilize in addressing issues, improving performance, improving productivity, and eventually to improve profitability within your organization. And today is one of those underutilized, underexplored concepts that can be very critical to your business success. So what I want to do today is to share this information, and it's called customer intelligence. Sounds like the CIA for business, but and in one sense it may be, but it's a lot more grounded than that. Yet it's something that we need to spend a little bit more time on. Now, in a lot of cases, this comes from the marketing departments. Yet I believe that the CEO needs to lead the initiatives to make sure that you understand and know everything you need to know about your customer, particularly if you're a company that relies upon your marketplace to provide you with value-added pricing. Now, if you're a commodity company, maybe it's not as important, other than you do need to know exactly who is your customer, who buys the most products, so that you can focus your promotions, etc., on that demographic or psychographic group, or even industry for that matter. Now, I know that there's differences between retail and B2B, business to business firms, professional firms versus wholesale distribution houses, etc. Yet, if you look at it, you can dissect what I'm talking about and implement it within your own organizations very easily. It is utilized in very progressive, high-performing companies to really understand and know what is going on with their customers, because it's all about discovering, uncovering, addressing, and aligning your customer focus efforts within your organization. So the first one I want to talk about is is customer renaissance, Blech. I can't talk today. I hadn't had enough coffee. Been in meetings all day with no coffee. Can you believe that? Anyway, reconnaissance. I'll get it out. Old Southern boy just having tongue tied here. Anyway, customer recon, so to speak. Yeah, let's take a military term, recon. We sneak in and check out everything, look into what's going on the front line. And this is, this is one of these concepts that you have to pay attention to. I've seen some businesses where they get in, the executive team gets all enamored in their executive offices, and they don't venture out into the customer base anymore. They don't go visit their customers. And what happens is they lose touch with the reality of who are their customers, particularly their major accounts. What is going on in those major accounts? What trends are happening in the industry? We need to understand that by talking to the customer, as well as doing some research on customer trends in their trade associations. They do a lot of work on figuring out trends for the future, movements that are going, slight shifts that can have monumental impact in your own organization. Technology changes is another one. So you've got to be constantly checking out what is going on at the ground root level, so to speak, with the customers. You got to get out and amongst them. I know when I was working in the banking industry, we had a very unique way of getting our customers together for about 8 weeks. We would invite them to a function, and then the officers would interact with the entire customer base of the bank, all all the companies that were borrowing money from the organization. We were in there learning about them, getting insights, learning about the character of the leaders, what their goals were. I mean, there was a lot of things going on, including some, some fun times. Yet the information that we called from those annual events allowed us to create a little bit more strategy in how do we deal with our customers, and who, what are they looking for trend wise. So is there a way that we can meet that trend, or are we going to have to just tighten our own belts and endure for a period of time? This is all what these are examples of things that you can uncover. Now, the next one is customer communications. Are you having regular communications with your customers? Now, I'm going to scold any of you who have the so-called house accounts, where you just expect them to buy from you every day or every month without any customer touches. That is other than them placing an order, and that is just well, that's almost insane. The account was brought in at some point in time, and you need to make sure that you have regular communication with all of your customers, especially your best customers, because they're the ones who could impact you either more with more growth, or if they leave for somebody else, then you have to really, really scramble and increase your cost to acquire new business to fill in the gap. And that's not even growing, that's just filling in the gap. So customer communications is extremely important. You can bundle some marketing concepts here, press releases, and ways to touch the customer. I know with the sales teams that we have always advised, the major account sales teams, when I'm working with them, that they need to get into the executive offices every 6 months and have a debrief of successes and failures. 6 months is really a golden form, and annually is at an absolute minimum, just to make sure that you are meeting all of their expectations and desires and are maintaining a strong relationship so that there is a sense of loyalty built into the customer base. But this is all about communications. How do you communicate? Do you have a formal communication methodology? Do you have a newsletter that talks about your new products coming online? Do you allow them to find out about you? Are you utilizing YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn? LinkedIn for business, Facebook for consumers and smaller businesses. So these are all customer intelligence factors that you can utilize or dig down into utilizing customer communications. Another form of customer communication is actually having surveys done. So you get input from the customer as to what you're doing well, what you're doing poorly, and some tips on what might need to be improved in order to keep their business. So these are all communication processes, and you want to make sure that you're interacting with your customer, because we got this high tech world that we live in, yet it's high touch when in combination with high tech that is actually winning in the market today. Now, customer retention is an area that most companies don't pay attention to, or only if they suddenly find a downward slope in their sales growth, then they start thinking about it. Yet customer retention is something that needs to be organized and planned and followed up on by the executives and officers of the company, as well as the salespeople and customer service folks. Customer retention is critically important for your profitability. Your bottom line depends upon retention. Why? Is because the acquisition cost of new clients, new customers, is much greater than continuously selling to existing customers. The effort, the expense, the marketing expense is much less. Now, it's not to say that you're to ignore it and just expect it to come in the door. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the acquisition costs are climbing significantly today, and it's even getting more difficult to acquire new business without some really, really good marketing processes and plans in place. Again, retention can also lead to more referrals of similar types of companies. And referrals go a long way as far as delivering trust and credibility to your organization by the customer speaking highly of you with their peers, their competitors, possibly other people that would bring positive growth to your company. So customer retention. Do you have systems and processes to track retention, to make sure that you're maintaining and keeping those customers and building a loyal customer base? I know we used a process with several of the companies that we transitioned from traditional selling to account-based selling. We paid close attention to the retention of the major accounts, and how did we purposely set up the processes so that we would have longer term contracts with the customers to offset this retention. Plus, the longer we're in there, the more we create a dovetail effect, as I've explained in the past. Dovetail being a very strong, and the boundaries within which company, where is the boundary of the two companies? It's harder to tell when you've been in there for a long period of time, and therefore you retain that business. They have a tendency to renew, particularly if you have constantly worked on improving customer satisfaction with those accounts. The next area that I want to talk about is customer relationship databases, or commonly known as CRMs, which is customer relation management. This is probably the most valuable tool that you will have within your organization. It's also one of the most difficult to get people involved in and utilizing, because they just don't like technology in a lot of cases. They don't want to share information about customers that they know, and unfortunately that's a very negative situation. When I talk to clients and customers, I know that one of the things that they enjoy is the continuity of being able to talk to people who understand their business. In fact, that is a critical piece for 2019 and beyond, is, do you understand the customer's business? That is like paramount these days. It is one of the hottest trends within the industries. They want to make sure that you understand who they are, what they're about, and think of them as unique, even if they're not really technically unique. They don't have to be. They're a customer or a client. By the way, you notice I use terms customer versus client. Customers is a fine word for organizations that sell to the masses and sell to a lot of folks. When you're a smaller business that only works with a few people, I use the word client because it implies a fiduciary responsibility to take care of the client. It's a higher level of interaction and requirements on the part of the company, me, or our company, to take care of our clients. So that's just to explain why I use these two words interchangeably, is because I'm talking to a group that some of you refer to everyone as customers, others talk about clients. So that's how I define it. Now, the customer database needs to be accessible throughout the entire organization. And here's why. If a customer calls in, a client calls in, and they have a question, you should be able to retrieve that information in the notes section of the CRM software like fast and be able to carry on a intelligent conversation with the customer without them having to explain who they are, what they do, where they come from, who they've been talking to, and all that sort of thing. That data would already be in the system and telling whoever's talking to the customer that, all right, here are the folks that interact with this person. Here's the salesperson who's in charge, or the account manager in charge of that particular account. And here's the conversations they're having about maybe a new project, or here's the timeline that has been given to them in the past week. These are factors that the customers admire. They think you've got your act together when they don't have to waste time explaining and teaching staff members how their business operates. In fact, they just get bored. They get aggravated when they have to do that in many cases, because they're time deprived. Everybody's time deprived. So that's something that you need to pay attention to. And have you trained people on the proper use of it? And do you emphasize it in meetings? And when you talk to the entire company, your communication within your own company, does it talk about the use of the CRMs to track customers? Do they integrate with all areas of the company? That's another area that, let's say small businesses, as you grow, your systems have to grow with you. You cannot use antiquated systems that do not track this type of information and provide current information to everyone who interfaces with the customers or clients. In other words, they have to be in the know. This is an information society, and is now moving into communication society. So we've got to be able to rapidly interact, because attention spans are getting shorter and shorter. And then finally, the last area of customer intelligence is in customer complaint resolution. Now, most companies don't even think about that. They just handle things like an aberration. It shows up and something happens. Well, I want to say that you've got to pay attention to the fact that complaint resolution can create a situation where your customer becomes your most loyal and dedicated customer because of the way you handled the situation. And that's by having dialogues within your own company. You're in your own offices. You hire people that that are what I call emotionally mature, so that they can carry on a conversation without it getting personal. They can keep customers happy during the dialogue, let them vent, and then solve their problem. And solving the problem is a critical element of complaint resolution. And most of the time, it would be very easy to just listen to what the customer has to say and then offer something that makes sense to everyone. That's a win-win. Plus, remember what I was talking about on retention. If this is a good customer and you have the data of how much they purchase in your CRM, you can make an educated decision very quickly by connecting the dots. Oh, this is potentially a very good customer. Or if you have grades on customers from key accounts to A, B, and C, D classifications based upon volume or other factors that you have included into your evaluation of customers. Now, that's another area that's pretty important these days, and you've got to be able to handle complaints. And by the way, this also includes having a policy for handling complaints that are posted on the social media, on Yeps and the Facebook and YouTube and other places where somebody's complaining about your company. And I think the last count I saw was something like 147 websites that track track whether you're a good guy or a bad guy, and it's almost getting overwhelming from this. Yet the issue is having a clear plan allows you to go back in and resolve that customer situation. And if you have a group of loyal customers to begin with, they will usually jump in and defend you without you having to do a whole lot more other than just respond to the complaint, validate it, and then offer to solve their issue or give them a methodology in an explanation of how to correct the situation. And that goes a long way. I've seen people who are just totally irate with a customer, and they just turn around after a situation is handled to their satisfaction, and they become one of the most loyal customers. And interestingly, they tell everybody else how great you are, which then increases your credibility and your credibility and the ability to pick up new accounts within the customer base. So I'm gonna check out. I know I've probably gone long again. Yep, 21 minutes. Dadgummit, I can't get inside 15. So there's just too much information here that I'm sharing with you, and that's who I am. I have a lot of experience. I actually I am capable of honing in on issues with clients and just solving those, and I do that all the time. Yet it's one of these situations where I'm just talking about, well, problems that pop up, issues that pop up, and under a concept, customer intelligence. So you can put your little spy glasses on or your binoculars and go out and do some customer intelligence, or the magnifying glass to read the fine print on the data research that you can find online these days. Anyway, but online is one thing, customer touches is another. You got to touch the customer. So if you're not doing that, you got a problem. So get out there and get amongst your customers, talk to them, figure out what's going on, what trends are in play. That allows you to make adjustments within your own strategies and tactics in order to be successful both in short and long term. So with that, I want to wish you a happy evening, a Friday evening. Hope you're getting an opportunity to go out for a nice dinner tonight. Just have fun. Have a great weekend. I will be on the live Saturday and Sunday. Saturday, I'll be talking about sales, so that may be a very long session. And then on Sunday, I'll talk about marketing as the processes that are attached to those two elements, and they are critical points for every leader within the organization. You must understand and know this like the back of your hand, and that helps you to communicate with the rest of the team. All right, so with that, I'm going to sign off. This is Voss Graham with Interactive Consulting Group. I am your organizational architect. I help small businesses grow their enterprise successfully for long-term growth and success and profitability. So with that, thank you very much.